السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ. بیٹھ جاؤ. ادیفہ صدف تلاوت.
السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ. اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. فلما وضعتها قالت رب إني وضعتها أنثى والله أعلم بما وضعت وليس الذكر كالأنثى وإني سميتها مريم وإني أعيذها بك وذريتها من الشيطان الرجيم. فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن وأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا. قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. جزاک اللہ.
ٹرانسلیشن رشیکا خان.
I will now present the English translation of the verses recited before you of Surah Al Imran, verses 36 to 38. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, ever merciful. Remember when the woman of Imran said, My Lord, I have vowed to thee what is in my womb to be dedicated to thy service. So do accept it of me. Verily, thou alone art all-hearing, all-knowing. But when she was delivered of it, she said, My Lord, I am delivered of a female. And Allah knew best what she had brought forth, and the male she was thinking of was not like the female she had brought forth. And I have named her Mary, and I commit her and her offspring to thy protection from Satan the rejected. So her Lord accepted her with a gracious acceptance, and caused her to grow an excellent growth, and had made Zachariah her guardian. Whenever Zachariah visited her in the chamber, he found with her provisions. He said, O Mary, whence hast thou this? She replied, It is from Allah. Surely Allah gives to whomsoever He pleases without measure. Jazakallah.
नाज़िम बुशरा गालिब साहिबा।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। कलाम हज़रत मुस्लिम मौद रज़ी ताला अन्हु। अहद शिकनी ना करो अहले वफा हो जाओ, अहले शैतान ना बनो अहले खुदा हो जाओ। गिरते पड़ते गिरते पड़ते दर मौला पे रसा हो जाओ, और परवाने की मानिंद फिदा हो जाओ, और परवाने की मानिंद फिदा हो जाओ। अहद शिकनी ना करो अहले वफा हो जाओ, अहले शैतान ना बनो अहले खुदा हो जाओ। जो है खालिक, जो है खालिक से खफा उनसे खफा हो जाओ, जो है उस दर से जुदा उनसे जुदा हो जाओ, जो है उस दर से जुदा उनसे जुदा हो जाओ। हक के प्यासों, हक के प्यासों के लिए आबे बका हो जाओ, खुश्क खेतों के लिए काली घटा हो जाओ, खुश्क खेतों के लिए काली घटा हो जाओ, राहे मौला, राहे मौला में जो मरते हैं वही जीते हैं, मौत के आने से पहले ही फना हो जाओ, मौत के आने से पहले ही फना हो जाओ, मोरदे फजलो करम वार से ईमान हुदा, आशिके अहमदो महबूबे खुदा हो जाओ, आशिके अहमदो महबूबे खुदा हो जाओ, अहद शिकनी ना करो अहले वफा हो जाओ, अहले शैतान ना बनो अहले खुदा हो जाओ। ज़ाका
इज्तिमा रिपोर्ट मोहम्मद नसर साहिबा वक्फ-ए-नौ।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My most beloved Hazur, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of Waqf-e-Nau UK, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to beloved Hazur Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz for gracing us today with his presence. Alhamdulillah, after a gap of 4 long years, we have been able to hold our cherished Ijtema once again. A brief summary report is as follows. Our Ijtema commenced at 10 a.m. with the opening session chaired by respected Sadr Sahiba UK. Thereafter, according to Hazur Anwar's guidance, our Ijtema program was based on group discussions. Workshops included how to fulfill our role as Waqf-e-Nau, understanding how Islam champions the rights of women, and tackling contemporary issues faced by our youth, the importance of developing a strong attachment to Khilafat, a careers guidance workshop for older Nasirat, Tabligh workshops including responding to common allegations and how to partake in jihad of the pen, with a practical session on writing letters to newspaper editors. A panel discussion was held for older Waqf-e-Nau on striking a balance with the many roles they are blessed to have. Moreover, for Nasirat, fun and activity zones were held to develop their bond of sisterhood. Beloved Hazur, by the grace of Allah, today's total attendance of Waqf-e-Nau is 1,213. This compares with an attendance of 1,154 at our last Ijtema in 2019. Our total number of attendees, including mothers, is 1,606. Of those Waqf-e-Nau in attendance today, 637 are between the ages of 7 to 15, and 576 are above 15 years of age. I would like to take this opportunity to thank National Secretary Waqf-e-Nau and his team for their tremendous help in organizing the Ijtema today, as well as all Lajna duty holders. Once again, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to beloved Hazur for granting us so much of his precious time today. On behalf of Waqf-e-Nau UK, I request beloved Hazur's invaluable prayers. May Allah Almighty enable us to shed our weaknesses and strive with our hearts and souls to fulfill the expectations of our beloved Imam and to become shining stars of Ahmadiyya. Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. With the grace of Allah, today the National Waqf-e-Nau UK Ijtema is taking place once again. As you are aware, Waqf-e-Nau comprise those women and girls within our Jamaat whose parents dedicated their lives to the service of their faith and religion prior to their birth. As Waqf-e-Nau, your absolute and unconditional priority must remain your faith and religion over all other things. And so today, I wish to briefly speak about what it actually means to give precedence to your faith. Once you comprehend what it means to prioritize and value your faith above all else, it will have a profound effect upon how you live your life. It will drive you towards a process of self-reformation and enable you to serve the Jamaat in the best possible way. A person who gives priority to their faith as a Muslim will naturally be inclined towards living a moral life. Such a person will seek to instill within themselves those values and qualities Islam advocates. If you consider your faith to be preeminent, you will also have an extremely positive influence on others and the society at large. Certainly, at a time when the world is becoming increasingly godless, it is the principal duty of the members of the Waqf-e-Nau scheme to bring people back towards God and prove a means of spreading the true religion of Allah, the Almighty, all around the world. In order to achieve this, you must recognize your true value and status. You are the girls and women who have the potential to play outstanding role in bringing about a spiritual and moral revolution in the world, because you are the followers of the promised Messiah al-Islam, who came in accordance with the prophecies of the Holy Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, foretold that following a period of spiritual malaise, at a time when Muslims had deviated far away from Islam's teachings, Allah the Almighty would send the promised Messiah al-Islam to revive the original teachings of Islam and to bring humanity back towards their Creator. Therefore, the promised Messiah al-Islam was sent by Allah the Almighty to enlighten Muslims and non-Muslims alike about Islam's teachings and to establish His chosen religion in the world. Of course, having accepted the promised Messiah al-Islam, all Ahmadis must fulfill the pledge of their faith. Nonetheless, having dedicated your lives for the service of your religion, you have an even greater responsibility than other Ahmadis. So ensure that you give precedence to your faith over everything else. Each of you must play your role in seeking to fulfill the grand objectives of the Prophet Messiah al-Islam, which in simple terms are to fulfill the rights of Allah, the Almighty, the rights of His creation, and to strive to establish his teachings in the world. Hence, you must inculcate the highest moral standards and set an example for others to learn from and follow. Through your words and especially your deeds, you must educate and inspire others towards the fact that as human beings, we must fulfill each other's rights and live in peace and harmony. You must guide others about the importance of upholding human values and treating one another with love, kindness, and respect. However, you cannot expect to influence others until you yourself are acting upon Islam's teachings. In this regard, the foremost duty of a Muslim is to worship Allah as he desires. Accordingly, as member of Waqf-e-Nau scheme, you must always protect and safeguard your prayers. Consider Salat to be your constant companion. It should not be that you delay or miss any prayers because of your worldly affairs or education. Do not be lazy or fall prey to weak excuses that take you away from Allah's worship. Rather, ensure you offer namaz on time and with deep care and concentration. Occasionally, due to bad weather or other genuine reasons, Zohar and Asr or Maghrib Isha can be combined, but even then they should be offered at the earliest possible time. Furthermore, a Muslim should recite and ponder over the Holy Quran each day and strive to act upon its teachings. As Waqf-e-Nau, you have pledged your lives for the service of your faith, and so it is especially incumbent upon you to study the Quran and identify its various teachings. Every command of the Holy Quran is vitally important and must not be taken lightly. Apart from instructing us to worship Allah the Almighty, the Holy Quran contains many other instructions concerning self-reformation and fulfilling the rights of our fellow beings. For example, the Quran lays great emphasis on fulfilling the rights of one's parents, where it has established the rights of women and girls. It has also laid down their responsibilities. Allah the Almighty says that believing women should protect their chastity and modesty at all times and observe parda. A fundamental reason for this Quranic injunction is to safeguard and protect women from harassment by men and to ensure that no man dares to cast even an inappropriate glance in their direction or to have impure or ill thoughts towards them. Rather than restricting a woman, hijab is the means of liberating them from the gaze of men. It is true that in the non-Muslim world, the concept of parda and hijab has long been criticized. Yet, now certain non-Muslims are actually calling for safeguards that mirror Islam's teachings. They are coming to realize the need for caution following reports of countless cases of men harassing and abusing women at all levels of society. Relatively recently, a survey found that 97% of women aged between the age of 18 and 24 in the UK had been harassed by men. Across all age ranges, 70% of women said they had faced sexual harassment in public. As a result, there have been calls to establish safe spaces for women or to have women-only events. Similarly, recently, a new report found that many women and girls in the UK were leaving sports and exercise because they felt uncomfortable and as though they were being sexualized by being forced to wear sports kits that expose much of their bodies. Thus, you should never harbor any form of inferiority complex or embarrassment regarding hijab or any other of Islam's teachings. Instead, you should feel pride in your religious beliefs and be confident in the expression of your faith. Certainly, there is no Islamic injunction or restriction that is without reason or logic. Each Islamic teaching is based upon human nature and the means for ensuring societal peace and harmony. There is no getting away from the fact that today, at every turn, lies immodesty and vulgarity, be it on television, social media, or in public areas such as beaches, parks, or other places of recreation. In such circumstances, every Ahmadi girl, and especially every Waqf-e-Nau girl, must show strength of character and pay great care and attention to protect her chastity and modesty of dress. You must seek to embody Islam's teachings in all respects. Only then will you be able to fulfill the pledge you have made to reform yourselves and to strive to ignite a spiritual and moral revolution in the world. Another virtue the Holy Quran has laid great emphasis upon is truthfulness. Allah the Almighty has said that there should not be even the slightest indication of falsehood or deception in one's words or deeds. Even when it comes to joking, one should not say anything misleading or false. Furthermore, Islam teaches that a person should treat his relatives with love and affection, and Waqf-e-Zindagis and Waqf-e-Nau should try to manifest this quality even more than others. With the grace of Allah, the Waqf-e-Nau scheme has reached a stage where many of the early Waqf-e-Nau girls are now mothers. Indeed, even many of those born some years later are now married and starting their families. The responsibilities of such Waqf-e-Nau are much increased. Where before they had to concentrate primarily on their own moral state, now they are also directly responsible for the moral training of the next generation of the Jamaat. To fulfill this duty, Ahmadi mothers must manifest the highest standards of worship of Allah and inculcate within themselves the very best morals. Most of you have been brought up and educated here, and so you understand this society and recognize its ills and vices. Utilize this knowledge to not only save yourselves from its ill effects, but to guide your children, also to guide your children, so that they avoid the moral pitfalls and traps that await them as they grow and develop. Without a shadow of doubt, it is the great challenge of the time for Ahmadi mothers to ensure that our future generations remain attached to their religion. Moreover, be ever mindful of your duty to bring people towards God. To achieve this, every Waqfa or Waqf-e-Nau must start with their own home. Treat your younger siblings and children with love and care, and strive to nurture a love of Allah within their hearts. Thereafter, reach out to your neighbors, friends, and wider world. Never waver in your efforts to develop a righteous society in which the teachings of Allah, the Almighty, reign supreme. Be ready for every sacrifice for the sake of your faith, and take inspiration from those noble women of the past who attained the highest spiritual ranks. Unquestionably, in every era, righteous women have played an outstanding role for the sake of their faith and belief in Allah the Almighty. For example, we see how the female disciples of the Prophet Jesus ﷺ excelled in faith and showed immense courage and loyalty. After Jesus ﷺ was taken down from the cross and emerged from the tomb-like cave in which he remained for 3 days, it was Mary Magdalene and 2 other women who came to his aid. Despite facing the threat of grave punishment and retribution from the authorities, those brave women did not recoil in fear. Rather, they showed far more courage and devotion than the male disciples. Rightfully, Christian women feel pride at the fortitude of those women who gave precedence to their faith and who, for the sake of Jesus ﷺ and his teachings, made great sacrifices. Furthermore, the Holy Quran specifically mentions 2 very pious women, Hazrat Maryam and wife of the Pharaoh. Both manifested exceptional faith in Allah and gave precedence to their belief in Him over all else. In the case of Pharaoh's wife, she remained faithful to Allah, even though she was the wife of a disbeliever. History bears witness to the fact that during the blessed era of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the sacrifices made by Muslim women reached new heights and shall forever remain an example for mankind. Some early Muslim women were subjected to inhumane cruelties and brutalities, yet they patiently tolerated all such atrocities and bore untold grief for the sake of their faith. Along with Muslim men, Muslim women were viciously tortured by the disbelievers of Mecca. They were forced to lie upon scorching sands and dragged for long distances as burning coals or stones were placed on their bodies. Once the Holy Prophet ﷺ observed a Muslim husband and wife, both of whom were slaves, being horrifically tortured in this way by their merciless master. They were forced to lie in the blistering heat upon boiling sands and were relentlessly beaten, and hot stones were placed upon them. All the while, their owner demanded they renounce their belief in the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Despite their agony, they never once wavered in their faith. Upon observing their torment, the Holy Prophet ﷺ became overwhelmed with emotion and grief and turned to Allah in prayer. The Holy Prophet ﷺ addressed the Muslim husband and wife and counseled them to remain patient and gave them the glad tidings that they will receive the greatest of Allah's reward and bounties soon. Ultimately, as a result of the incessant torture, the husband lost his life. At that moment, when the Muslim lady had lost her husband, her owner still failed to show any mercy. Instead, he took a spear and violently pierced open her stomach, causing her death. In worldly terms, that woman had no rank or status. Indeed, as a slave, she was part of the weakest class of society and considered no more than a chattel or property of their owner. Yet, due to her absolute conviction in the truth of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and her impeccable standards of faith, that lady, who the world looked down upon, scaled the highest spiritual peaks, and her noble status has been etched indelibly in history for evermore. Another awe-inspiring example from early Islam is that of Hazrat Umara, radhiyallahu anha, who demonstrated outstanding bravery and steadfastness, far beyond many Muslim men during various battles in the early period of Islam. Likewise, we have before us the extraordinary examples of Hazrat Umar's sister, who tolerated the wrath of her enraged brother in order to ensure that the sanctity and dignity of the Holy Quran was preserved. Seeing his sister's supreme level of faith moved Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu anhu, and proved a watershed moment in his life, leading him to accept Islam. Moving forward to this era, with the grace of Allah, many Ahmadi women have also rendered great sacrifices for the sake of their faith. In Pakistan, it is not only Ahmadi men who have embraced martyrdom. Ahmadi women have also given their lives for the sake of their faith. With unwavering courage, they remained firm in their faith till their last breath and never yielded to the brutalities and cruelties they were subjected to. In reality, history is replete with the magnificent role Muslim women have played. For the sake of their faith, and they serve as role models for all those Waqf-e-Nau who have pledged in this era to give precedence to their faith over all worldly matters. Always remember that such stories are not just for us to read about or to consign to the history books. Rather, they ought to inspire us to remain firm in our faith and we navigate the challenges of modern society. Accordingly, every Ahmadi lady and girl, especially members of Waqf-e-Nau scheme, must understand that now it is their turn to take up the mantle of being ready for every possible sacrifice for the sake of their faith. There are countless moral ills and vices prevalent in today's society, and increasingly people are abandoning religion. Under such circumstances, Waqf-e-Nau must take a stand for the sake of Allah, the Almighty. You must strive to eradicate all traces of worldliness from your minds and ensure that you do not fall prey to the superficial attractions and glamour of the world. Instead, seek to live your lives according to Islam's teachings. Be ever willing by giving precedence to your religious convictions. Guard your faith and seek to establish an everlasting living bond with Allah. Bow before Him in all humility and sincerely pray that you can effect a profound change in the world through tabligh and your righteous conduct. Strive every day to play your role in uniting mankind under the banner of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, so that the people of the world join together as one in prostration before Allah the Almighty. If you rise to this challenge, you will fulfill the objective of your life and be able to claim that you are a Waqf-e-Nau, not just in name, but far more importantly, in spirit and deed. Whether young or old, I reiterate that you must always seek to fulfill the righteous pledge made by your parents before your birth, which you later affirmed, of giving precedence to your faith over worldly matters and spending your lives in the service of Islam. May Allah the Almighty grant you all the ability to do so. May you all fulfill your duties and be amongst those who bring about a true and everlasting spiritual revolution in the world. Ameen. Now, join me in silent prayer. Ameen.